Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jewish Culture and Jewish Awareness. My name is Dustin Hausner, and I'm the Jewish Outreach and Program Director at the Wayne YMCA. All our Jewish programming is funded through the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. So today I have a very interesting guest. Not only do I think he's a wonderful local rabbi and just rabbi in general, but he has amazing musical talent, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But I'd like to introduce all of you to Rabbi Eli Soiefer. Rabbi Eli, great to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Dustin. It's good to be here.
Excellent to have you. So why don't you actually start out talking a little bit about your background, and then we'll talk about, obviously, your setup for music, and we're going to talk about that in 1 minute. But let people know a little bit about your background and a little bit about the work you do.
Well, I've been involved with Jewish education for many decades. I've been a Rebbe, a teacher in a Jewish day school. I've been a mashgiach, which is a sort of a spiritual counselor of sorts. And I've also been involved with other Jewish educational programming and services. And in terms of the Birthright, which is that beautiful program which facilitates trips to Israel. Hopefully, I don't know when we'll have it again with the post-pandemic. Hopefully, we missed this summer's trip, unfortunately. But I have served as the rabbi on a very special Birthright trip called the Vegan Mayanot Birthright trip through the auspices of Jewish Veg, a wonderful organization which encourages and educates people in terms of a plant-based diet. And so we organize an actual trip of young people to Israel, 10-day trip, for young Jewish vegetarian / vegans.
That's fantastic.
And it's a blast.
Sure it is. I was going to say Israel is I think many people know Israel for having such a large variety of vegans and vegan options. So it actually works really nicely.
Yeah, I would think that Tel Aviv is right up there in the top 3 cities in the world in terms of being vegan and vegetarian friendly.
So let me dive in a little bit because obviously you're set up. As I mentioned, we're going to hear music in a short moment. You're set up for music. You have this wonderful beard. You have this kind of, it's not unusual for people to grow up and hear like rabbis playing like guitar and playing like Jewish songs and kind of that folksy music that I think a lot of Jews are used to who've been to summer camp and things like that. But that's not quite the music we're going to be hearing today. And I love this very much. Again, it's not unusual to hear a rabbi play the guitar. It's not unusual for even rabbis to be in some sort of like folksy music band of some sort. Yours is American rock. Like that is your jam. That is something you formed an actual band. We're going to be hearing that in a little bit. Please explain to me like what got you interested in American rock, what a little bit about your band, because it's a very interesting thing, I think, for many people to hear that a rabbi, especially a Hasidic rabbi, decided to form a rock band.
Yeah, that is kind of weird, isn't it?
In a good way.
We've all heard of the folk rabbis, but not so much the rockin' rabbis, We're rocking and we're rolling. So the thing is that I actually grew up in a non-Orthodox upbringing, sort of traditional conservative or whatever. I'm not really into the labels, So the thing is, I grew up with rock and roll, and it always has moved me. And I guess whatever you're listening to as a teenager, that's sort of what sticks with you, is what works to a certain extent, So rock is like a big part of who I am. And I don't think there's a differentiation, between styles and genres and getting a spiritual message across. I find a great deal of spirituality, in whatever can move someone emotionally and really get deep inside a person, And I think we see that actually traditionally, some of the most famous Hasidic nigunim, songs are actually melodies which were borrowed from Polish and Ukrainian folk songs. And as a matter of fact, at the holiest time of the year, at the Ne'ilah service of Yom Kippur, the height of Yom Kippur, at the very end of it, the Lubavitch Hasidic group, they sing Napoleon's March, a march that they heard Napoleon's army singing as they were trying to march towards Moscow. And they listened to it and they said, wow, that's a really cool victory march. And they brought it into the realm of what they consider to be their realm of holiness. So this idea, I think, is very important. The idea that everything in the world is a godly thing, right? Without that spark of godliness, it would not exist. And to bring the spirituality, to bring the godliness out of that thing, whatever it might be, is possible. So what I try to do with my music is I try to write lyrics which I feel are important and contain a variety of spiritual messages, and I use rock and roll to get it across.
Let me ask you, because I think, especially in recent years, there's been more focus on those of more of a religious Jewish background involved in these different types of genres. I'm thinking of, obviously, Mastiyahu, who's very famous as kind of more of a reggae person now. You have Nissim Black, who's a famous rapper in Israel. So there's a lot more, I think, focus on these ideas of these religious Jews coming out and playing this type of music. And I'm curious, and you gave me a very good example just now, but do you feel there's something about Judaism and Jewish music that kind of lends itself to these different genres of music? Is it something where you feel that it's a personal enjoyment of certain type of music and you found a way to combine it with Jewish values? Like, what is your opinion on that?
Well, a great Hasidic rabbi once said that music is the pen of the soul. And I think that that's true. Without going into all the sources and whatnot, music plays a big part in Jewish theology and spirituality and Jewish ideas. And I think it reaches to a place that words can't really get to. And there are reasons for that. We can go all the way back to Pythagoras, who said that the world is really a symphony. He said that all the planets are actually playing notes. Things that move make sounds.
Yeah.
Right? So the earth is making a sound right now. We can't hear it because we were born into it.
Sure.
So we don't really hear it. But if you could catch which notes all the planets are playing, and he did, or he said he did, and he actually discovered what notes they were. So that's harmony, right? So we're living within this great harmonic symphony of sound, right? And it's getting very deep. The vibration goes all the way through. So if we combine that with Jewish philosophy and Jewish spirituality, so that's a great combination. And I think people are really thirsty and hungry to receive that message. And, I'm not selling anything. I have no particular agenda, actually. I'm just trying to get my poetry across and using music as a mechanism to do that.
So we're going to hear your music shortly, but I wanted to just ask you if you could tell us kind of the name of the band, where you came up with the name of it, and again, you're saying this in this, and it's something like I've known you long enough where you have this great just poetry of how you speak about things. It sounds almost like this folksy, but it is very much like rock music, but with this very powerful message. So I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about your band name and a little bit about the type of rock music you do.
Right. So the name of the band is Emodulari. Emodulari is a Latin word, and I like to kind of boil things down to their essence and get to the, as we say in Yiddish, the gedichter, get to the essence of things. And emodulari is simply a word which means the taking of an idea and setting that idea to rhythm, to a rhythm, to musical idea, and combining that. And that's what songs are. That's exactly what songs are. And so all I've done is I've taken my poetry, my ideas, and then I've tried to organically match that with a melody that sort of matches the concepts that I'm trying to get across in that particular song. But you're right. These songs, as you'll hear, I mean, I don't know, my band isn't here, socially distancing and all, and I don't have them in my closet. But so we're going to hear some stripped down acoustic versions of some of the tunes, and they can work as folk tunes as well. But I like a hard driving rock sound. Actually, that's what gets me up and dancing, and they work very well as good old fashioned hard rock and roll. And that's what you're going to hear if you buy the record. The record is out. We'll put in a little a plug if you don't mind. We can visit our website at www.emodulari.com. All the links will show below later. And the album is out. It contains 9 of our songs, and I write the songs for the record. But I've got an unbelievable team of people that I've been working with, and perhaps I'll get a chance to just mention their names later on in the program. Or I can go ahead and...
If you want to do it now, or you can do it later on, with whatever you're comfortable with.
Yes, I just want to give a shout out because they do a great job. First of all, Dave Reese, what he did was I played him my songs, and I said, yeah, these are great songs, but I want to make them rock and roll. So it's not so simple to take a la 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 and turn it into rock and roll. So he produced and arranged the instrumentation in a way that really lets it rock, and he really puts an unbelievable touch to all these songs, and he puts them in a whole different atmosphere. So that's Dave Reese. And then we've got an unbelievable band. We've got Rich Bozek on drums. I've got the wonderful vocalist Natasha DeMarco singing beautiful harmonies with me on the songs. And I've got Ryan Liatzis, who's a guitarist that's unbelievable, and J-Rod Chiorciari, who mixed and recorded and did the mastering, and he also played some instruments. So we had a great bunch of guys and gals behind us, and you have to check this out. It's a hard rockin', stompin', dancing record.
Fantastic. So why don't we, because we had spoken about you doing 2 songs, so why don't we maybe do a song now, and then you could tell us a little bit about, what made you write the song, and then we can, get into a little bit more. Would that be okay, or would you?
Absolutely. Are you kidding? I'm always ready to play.
Excellent. So why don't we? So why don't you tell us the title of the song you're about to play, and we'll give it a good listen.
Okay. Now, this is a kind of a long song with a story behind it, very important story behind it. So I don't think I'll play the entire song. I just want to give you a little first verse and chorus to give you a little feel for it. But this is a song that's close to my heart. If you don't mind, Dustin, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about what inspired me to write this song. I think this started maybe already about almost 10 years ago. So what's been happening is that, as you know, we have a terrible problem with homelessness here in America, and it's only been exacerbated lately with the COVID, and people are getting thrown out of their homes. They can't afford their rents, etc. In any event, this is an unbelievable story. I don't even know if you're going to believe this, but this started down in Florida. What happened was that they're homeless people, and a lot of them are veterans who unfortunately were suffering from serving in Afghanistan, Iraq, etc. And they came back, they didn't know what to do themselves. A lot of them suffering from addictions and mental illnesses, and they find themselves in the street. And a lot of them, they want to be in the street as opposed to a shelter because they find there's more freedom involved. It's safer in many instances. And a lot of them are in a situation where they just aren't ready to receive help, but yet they're homeless and they're hungry. Yeah. So you're walking down the street and you see a person who's homeless and they're obviously in a sad state of affairs, and you want to offer them something. You want to give them something to eat. Yeah. They came out with a law, an actual law on the books in this city, that it's against the law to feed a homeless person.
Wow.
Wow. Wow is right. It's unbelievable. When I read that, I read an article about it, and I saw that there was a pastor, a minister, who wanted to challenge this. Sure. So he went down the street, and he offered some food, a nice hot soup to a homeless person, and they actually came and arrested him. Wow. They arrested him. And these rules have been popping up all over the country. It started in Florida, but now it's nationwide.
It's really weird.
Really weird, because their thinking is that they don't want to, quote, encourage
incentivize
people to live and incentivize it, as if, really?
Right.
So, and you're making a lot. So it reminded, Dustin, when I saw that story, I wrote an email to the mayor of that town, and I said, you know what? I'm shocked about this because it reminds me of a biblical story. I don't know how many, I'm sure your listeners have heard the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Sure. Which they were acting in such an evil way that God decided that there was no remedy for these people. They had to be destroyed. It's a famous story. But what many people don't know is that what they were involved with was, besides many terrible deeds they were perpetrating amongst each other, horrible actions, but what set God over the edge, so to speak, was a rule that they had, a particular rule. They had a rule, guess what? That it was against the law in Sodom to feed poor people, to feed homeless people. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
And there was a particular young lady who rebelled against this, and she wanted to, every day she saw a starving man on the street, so she hid. The biblical sages teach us the story that she hid a loaf of bread in a jar. And every day she would pass by, she would look around, and she would feed this homeless person. And one day, people were wondering, how is this guy still alive? He's sitting here on the street, and you're not allowed, no one's allowed to feed. So there were spies, and they caught her. They caught her. And they decided that this was a capital offense. And what they did, it's a little bit horrible to say the end of the story, but according to our sages, they tell the story that they stripped her of her clothing, they strung her up in the town square, and they smeared her whole body with honey. And bees came and stung her to death. And as she was dying, her cries reached the heavenly gates. And when God, the story goes, heard the cries of that young lady, he said, wow, that's it. These guys are toast. We're starting over. These guys are, and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. So I wrote a song which is told from the perspective of a vet who came back after serving in the Middle East, and he finds himself in a homeless situation, and I contrast that in the chorus with a advertisement from the tourist department of this particular town in Florida, which advertises beautiful scenes of beaches and palm trees, and says, come to this town, 3,000 hours of sunshine. We are the Venice of America. Right. So I called the song Venice of America. And if you want to check out we made a video about it with a beautiful story where we updated that story of the young woman who rebels against and feeds the homeless person. And we tell this story in a beautiful video. You can check it out on our YouTube channel. So I'll just sing you the first verse and chorus of that song.
Please.
That's all right. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Now, of course, on the record, we have this with a beautiful drum beat and bass guitar and a full sound. Please don't feed me out here on the street. I might stay out here forever if you give me bread to eat. I had a job, I lost it, I don't know where it went. $9, 34 hours ain't enough to pay the rent. 3,000 hours of sunshine, 3,000 hours in a day. 3,000 hours of sunshine, Venice of America. Venice of America. And it goes on to tell the story of this vet and what happens to him and the divine retribution that occurs.
No, it's like, it definitely has the rock to it. Like, even though you didn't have the drums and everything else, you definitely had the rock tune in it. And just telling the story and hearing that while listening to the song just empowers the song so much. And, you know, obviously you mentioned the YouTube channel, which we'll mention again later on the show. But yeah, so have most of your songs, just for those who aren't as familiar with your music, has it been your personal experience versus, you know, something connecting to either a Jewish story or a Jewish connection, or how have you written the songs? I mean, that one obviously you explained, but your other songs, are they connected in a similar manner, or they're all kind of different?
They're all different, but they all either come from personal experience or something that's bugging me. Usually it comes from something that I read in the news that bugs me. And it's like therapy, you know? So I write the song and whew, you know, when I sing that song, it's like, oh, okay, I feel a little bit better. And sometimes, like we have right now, as we speak, there's a film festival in California called the Festival Angaelica. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And one of our videos was actually selected to be shown. It's being selected and it's being shown right now. And hopefully, I would really appreciate everyone checking out the link later and checking that out and looking at our video and voting, because it's cool to be selected for a festival. It's even cooler to win it.
Sure.
You know, in the short film category, it's 4 minutes long. It's a song, but we made a beautiful video of this song that it's called Craniotomy. So what happened over here was that I was just like reading the Sunday Times or what have you. And all of a sudden, like, this article jumped out at me, and it was about this real surgical procedure called craniotomy, awake craniotomy. And what it is that sometimes when they're operating on people's brains, for example, God forbid, if someone has a tumor, let's say, and they have to operate on the tumor. So it's hard for the doctors sometimes to tell the difference between the good tissue, the good brain tissue, and the not good brain tissue. So there's this thing where they drill a hole into the brain, and then they wake you up. And then they do the surgery while you're awake. And there was a guy in South Africa, a bassist, he plays the bass, jazz bass, boom, 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 boom. And they had him play the bass while they're doing the surgery. And so if they hit the wrong tissue, he would like jump or not play the right note, and that's how they would know. So I'm thinking to myself, well, how are they operating the guy with no anesthesia? What are you talking about? You know? So the guy says in the article, the doctor says, oh yeah, you know, once we're in the brain, there is no pain. So because, you know, there is no pain in the brain. So it was like, that set me off. So I said, wow, that's a line in a song. And I started singing. Once we're in the brain, there is no pain, there is no pain.
I can get the rock in there.
So I said, and I ran up to my little studio where I write my songs. I ran up there and I wrote Craniotomy. I said, this is unbelievable. But it got me thinking about so many things, about where there's a space deep, deep within us that's beyond pain, right? And it got me thinking about how we choose to react to things that happen to us.
Yeah.
And anyway, so it got me thinking, it got my juices going. And then I wrote this song, Craniotomy, which is what the video, and then we made a really funny, cool.
Yes, it is very, very eye-opening video. I'll put it that way. It's very thought-provoking. It's something you are going to remember and talk about for days if you watch the video, which we'll make sure to give you the information.
Right. So I appreciate that. So that's one of the ways. Some of the songs come from really, really personal experience. But the truth is that I never know until I just sort of sit down and say, oh, wow. And then I start, writing. And sometimes I'll just have a tune, like I'll think of a cool melody or a chord progression, as we say. And I'll just we have now on the phone the little voice memo thingy.
Sure. Which
is unbelievable, because in the past I would come up with a tune and then promptly forget it an hour later, and where did it go? Like these things, like Shlomo Carlebach used to say, who was a famous, he was sort of the first sort of rock and rabbi folk rabbi, passed away, I guess, about 25 years ago or so. Anyway, he used to say that, they asked him, how do you come up with the ideas for all these hundreds of beautiful melodies that he would come up with? And he said, he doesn't come up with them. They come down from someplace else, And if you listen to really famous rock and roll songwriters, any songwriter, most of them will tell you sort of the same story, that they have no idea where they come from. It's a gift.
Yeah.
It just sort of comes.
So with that being said, let's hear this award nominated song / video. It would be with the song, but we would love to hear it.
Oh, okay. I'll play a little bit of it. This one is really hard to do without the band, because this one, as you heard it rocks out like crazy. Okay. But we'll try a little bit. I'll slow it down, it'll help. Let's see. We'll edit that part out, the other part. Don't cough, lie still, this is a sensitive affair. Play that guitar just like ringing a bell, 'cause we can't miss by a hair. We began to perfect our craft 8,000 years ago. To stimulate your cortex, in your skull will drill a hole. Once we're in the brain, there is no pain, there is no pain. Once we're in the brain, there is no pain, there is no pain. Wake, cray, craniotomy. Wake, cray, craniotomy. Gute Nacht, and so forth and so on.
I love it. Oh, that is very catchy also. It's a very catchy song. So, but let's go back for a second, because obviously, again, the songs will sound quite a bit different when you have the whole band together with the drums and everything else, but you definitely get the rock vibe when you sing it just now. So where are the places where people can find your music? And tell us a little bit more about the the contests that you're submitted in. Please, I would love to hear a bit about both.
Sure. Well, you know, I have over here, this is the LP,
There you go.
okay, Emodulari Damnatio Memoriae,
Hmm.
and which means basically uh, the purging of memory, right? So a lot of the songs are about, you know, what we do with our memory, and how we deal with our memory. And so that's where I came up with that. And since Immodulari was in Latin, I figured that sounded cool in Latin too. You know, how do we deal with that? Do we just sort of pretend that these things never happen? I think society, our culture is going through that kind of thing right now. You know, how do we deal with our past? You
Yeah.
know, in any event, so this LP contains nine. It contains nine of our. There's a picture of the band. I don't know if you can see it.
You can see a little bit.
Yeah, I'm over. I'm over there somewhere with the rest of the gang, and so I did. We did a vinyl record because I always wanted to do a vinyl record. I
Sure.
wanted to have a. I wanted to be on a record. You know, it's so cool. You know, what goes around comes around. Vinyl records disappeared for many years. You know.
Well, that's
Yep.
the funny thing. I was going to say vinyl records are big now. Drive-in movie theaters are big now. A lot of it's again, it's kind of hilarious, but these are great things. A vinyl sounds beautiful when you have it in the right player, and a drive-in, there's something very romantic. There's something about these things.
Yeah, you know, I never liked the CDs or the digital stuff too much because it sounds too perfect.
Hmm.
I love putting on a record and hearing that crackle, 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 you know.
Sure.
I just love it. And you know, and it's a social thing, you know, you listen to it, you put a record player on, you put the record on in a room and you sit on the couch with your friends and you share the experience of hearing, hey man, let's go sit down and have a beer and put on a record.
Right.
You know, and then you can share that experience. It's such a cool thing. Uh, the other practical reason, with all due respect, and quite just being blunt with you, is that everything is free. You know, like all my music is up there. Everyone's music is free. It's all up in the digital cloud, and you can get it anywhere, and no one pays for it. But it seems like, I mean, now no one can gig, no one can like play live because of the pandemic has really hit the music business
Very
really, really hard. I mean, it's like you can't do it basically. And so there's like no way. It's like really a struggle, you know, for a musician to make money somehow, coming up with all different crazy ways. But it appears that because a vinyl record is a real thing, right? It's like a thing that you want to have. I want to have it in my collection, you know,
right.
in my record collection. There's artwork involved. It's a physical thing that you can hold in your hand. So people are a little bit willing, if they like the music,
Sure.
to buy the record.
Right.
Oh, I'll buy the record. No, no one will buy a CD because why should I? But they'll buy a record.
Mm.
So that's another reason why I made a record because maybe someone will buy it.
Right.
You know, besides my family and friends, they can say they have the record. You know, why not? So if you go to our website www.emodulari.com, we have a little website store over there,
Mm.
and I have a. It'll come from the warehouse right here in my house. We'll pack it up. We'll send it media mail. Boom. You'll have the record, and I hope you'll get a lot of listening enjoyment out of the record. You asked me about the festival.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know, we'll go down below. We'll have all the links this week and next week, whenever this is being aired exactly. It's the 21st through the 30th of December is the viewing and the voting.
Mm-hmm.
And then on New Year's Eve, the 31st, they're going to actually pick the winners in the different categories. And I'm really excited about that because Rich Bozek, our drummer, who's also the videographer, he directed the film. He did such an unbelievable job. It's such a cool video, and I'm really excited for him and for everyone in the band about that. So check out all the movies that they have. It's on Vimeo or something.
Yeah.
So you go on there, you know, you check out all their cool. I'm going to do that. Find time this week, you know, something else to do in lockdown. You know, I can check out all the movies on this Festival Angaelica. They sound like a really cool organization, cool group. Usually it's an annual thing, and usually they make it a combination of the festival on a camping trip,
Hmm.
sort of a situation of some kind. They're like an outdoorsy type of a thing. This year, bust, but we're doing it on Zoom, so it should be really cool. And so the record's coming out. We have this video in the film festival, and hopefully I'll be scoring a lot of these cool interviews with on cool programs like yours. And the bottom line is, I just want as many people to hear these songs as can possibly do that. I mean, that was always my intention. I just would like people to hear my songs, and I guess these are all the different avenues we're trying to get this stuff out there.
Last question I definitely want to ask, because some people may be watching the interview, enjoy the music, but also enjoy listening to you and the way you're talking about your Judaism, the story. If people want to find you specifically, is there any place they can find you? Do you have like a YouTube channel or anything, or where can people find you?
Oh, thank you, Dustin, for asking. So the first thing I want to say is that every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., you don't have to be up that early because later on it's up on YouTube, but we have a live Facebook Torah class together with Rabbi Reuven Modek of the Hebrew Learning Circles, a beautiful organization which brings Jewish education to the homes of non-affiliated families who are looking for some sort of traditional Jewish education for their kids. It's a great thing what he's got going over there. Anyway, so we partner on Wednesday mornings. We do the Torah portion of the week using a beautiful Hasidic text as the backdrop, and it's wonderful conversation. And that's every Wednesday morning. And you can find that. We'll put the link down later. I don't even know where you can find it. It's the Hebrew Learning Circle thing. And then it's up on his YouTube channel. I have the band YouTube channel where we have currently 16 songs, which either have a music video or a lyric video to go with it. But also under my personal name, I put the Jewish, more Jewish-oriented, more traditionally Jewish-oriented, folky type of songs that I also write, and I've have the accompanying lyric videos, and that you can find by not Googling, but YouTubing. I don't know what you call it. Searching on YouTube, my name, Eli Soiefer, Soiefer, or my English name, Eric. Sometimes Eric Eli. They have all different kinds of combinations, and you can find a separate channel for my pared down folky stuff, which has some of the acoustic versions of these songs and some other songs which just sort of work better with me playing. And also occasionally on Facebook, I'll do a live song. I'll put it up on Facebook, and then later I'll put it up on the YouTube channel as well. Our Facebook page, Emodulari on Facebook, Emodulari on Instagram. And on there you can find information and news about the band and what we're up to, which is not been too much because no gigs, man. I miss playing live. It's so much fun to get in front of an audience and get that live energy.
Sure.
But one day soon, man, one day soon. We'll get back to it.
One day soon. So on that point, I want to thank you so much for obviously not only speaking to us, but you played a little bit for us. I want to wish you and your band, of course, all the best in the contest, and knock on wood, maybe in sometime in the future we know in the near future you'll be able to do concerts. Maybe we'll have you back to do something more live with us. But just thank you so much for taking the time to speak and play with us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Dustin. I really appreciate you having me on. And on behalf of the band, everybody, keep rocking in the free world. And better times are around the corner. The lights at the end of the tunnel. We have to just see that little. We just came out of Hanukkah. A very little bit of light dispels a lot of darkness, King Solomon said. And we just have to produce that light, on our own. We have to just imagine it, and then it will become reality.
Excellent. Well, to you, the viewer watching, I want to say thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We hope you'll watch this one as well. Well, you'll rewatch this one as well as many of our other videos, our past ones and upcoming ones. We hope you stay safe. We hope you stay healthy, and we wish you well. So have a wonderful rest of the day. And thank you again, Rabbi, for coming on the show.
Thank you.